My last dog, this is a good story. I worked in Washington with a Democrat by the name of Tim Penny, and Tim and I worked on trying to fight to balance the budget back in the 1990s, and it was really the first shot fired in the effort to balance the budget, which we ultimately got in 1997, and so when we were defeated by just a few votes, Republicans and Democrats, both sides were, some of them working against us, but we came very, very close and sort of set the stage. And we had a reception after the vote, and Tim said some kind things about me, and I said, well, Tim, I just want you to know, and the bill was called Penny Kasich, and I said, you know, I just got a dog, and we've not given it a name yet, but henceforth it shall be known as Penny. So it's called Penny Kasich. So anyway, it was great. And I have to take a second to acknowledge an old pal of mine, Bill Long. He was a washed-up quarterback, Cliff, before he was even washed up, and he's been a big fan of all animals. And of course, what's so great about this is it took a long time to get here. I mean, Jim Hughes has been working on this, I guess, for 7 years. There's just so many things that have been left undone, and we know that these dogs are the Lord's creatures, right? And we are to be great stewards of His creation, and that includes being good stewards of all of the animals that we have in the world, and of course, man and woman's best friend, the dog. And yes, I am becoming a lot more politically correct. And I don't want to spend 3 days having somebody chase me down the hall. But, you know, we know how special these animals are. And it's really kind of beyond our understanding as to how anybody would not treat these wonderful animals with great love and affection and kindness. But, and you know, this was never an effort to try to disrupt anybody's business practices. But Michael Novak, the great philosopher and theologian, says that any part of business that isn't underlaid with a great set of values is morally bankrupt, and I happen to buy that. And I think as a result of these rules, and as a result of public recognition and public concern and public demand, finally, after 7 long years, we now are going to have proper protection for man and woman's best friend. And I am thrilled to be here today. And we know that Jim Hughes was unrelenting in his effort to get this done. He deserves a lot of credit, as do many of you assembled here, for keeping the pressure on, and pushing and shoving to make sure that we would actually have this day. So without any further ado, Senator Hughes.
First of all, I want to thank the governor for his leadership, as well as being out here today to sign the bill. We appreciate his leadership, as well as Director Daniels in terms of working on this. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge and thank my former Senator, Gary Cates, who started this process with me 7 years ago. He's no longer in the Senate, but he was also one equally as very passionate about it. In fact, he has a puppy mill dog named Pretty Girl. That's where the name came for this particular bill. But I also want to thank my colleague, Senator Cliff Height, who was the chairman of this particular committee, that worked with Director Daniels to get this through. One of the things that my parents, and the governor does know my parents for a number of years, my dad always taught me for these 7 years, was time, patience, and perseverance to accomplish all things. And that's exactly what happened today, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of this. By being, all of you, helping with us, making sure that we understood what was important in this bill and why it was important to the state of Ohio, so we would not have these type breeders that were in other states that realized we had lax laws, and they would come over and bring their type behavior and antics to us. But today, we're taking a giant step to stop this type of behavior and moving very much forward. And once again, I want to thank all of you for being here, and especially the governor for his leadership with this. I would like to introduce my good friend, Senator Cliff Height. We call him the coach because he's a former football coach, but he also was the chairman of the Senate committee that we made sure we get out. Without further ado, Senator Height.
Bill, I'm a washed-up quarterback too, just so you know. And you know, speaking of being a coach, I was the football coach at Findlay High School, and we played Dublin Kaufman, and we lost to them 9 straight years. So I understand how tough it is to prepare and work and everything and try to get something done. The 10th year, we finally came up with a plan that won. And when I was interviewed by the press, I said, I told you it couldn't be this 10 years in a row. And the reason I'm saying that is, as a coach, one of the greatest feels I've had since I've been here is to bring so many different people together to come up with something as good as this. Jim Hughes was amazing. I jokingly said on the Senate floor that Gary Cates had more bills passed after he left the Senate than when he was a senator. But and if he were here, he would be laughing too. But it was so wonderful to work with so many different people, and I love that process of bringing people together and finally coming up with a big win. So my hat's off to everybody. Thank you, Governor, so much for being so much a part of this, and Dave Daniels as well, and Kelly, and everybody I got to work with. It was a pleasure, and I'm just happy to be here for a victory. Thank you.
You know, one of the things that happened many years ago, and I'm not sure how many of you know about this, but I think it was in the early 1990s. I got a call from Jack Hanna, and he said, you know, we are losing the elephant. And he said, you need to come to the zoo, and I want to show you. And I really didn't know Jack at the time. So I went out, and we got, of course, you know Jack. I thought I was going to have to ride the elephant. We got in the cage. We got in the cage with the elephant. And the fact of the matter was, what was happening, and what is happening again, the poaching of elephants for the ivory. And Jack showed me this. I said, well, Jack, what am I supposed to do about this? And he said, well, you can get the elephant put on the CITES list so that we could restrict the importation of ivory. And I went down and saw President Bush. He didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Why would he? And this is Bush the first. And we ended up getting the elephant put on the CITES list and rebuilt the herds as a result of Jungle's efforts, and it was a great thing. Unfortunately, my understanding is we're back to the importation of ivory, and the elephant is back at risk. So we have to be mindful. I mean, once these animals are lost, right, no matter what the animal is, once they're lost, and we have to do what we can do to preserve them. And Dave Daniels was a very important part of this process. We wanted to make sure we got the strongest bill possible through the legislature, and I think we've done pretty well. Dave?
Thank you, Governor, and it really is a pleasure to be here today. I know that the Governor has worked very hard, Senator Hughes, and Chairmans Height and Hall for their leadership and all the work that they did in moving this bill forward. As many of you know, the Ohio Department of Agriculture houses the state veterinarian, and we feel extremely confident that as this new bill becomes law and we begin its implementation, we can put together a program that is going to ensure that animals, dogs in this state, are raised in healthy environments, that animal welfare is taken into consideration. As many of you know, we will employ a few new state veterinarians that will conduct inspections. And one of the things that I think is really important about this bill is also we are using a VCPR. It will require every dog breeder in this state to provide health care for the animals in their charge. So we feel that along with us doing our regulatory inspections and the work that we've done, and that Senator Hughes, Height, all the interested parties have done, we're going to make Ohio a much better place for dogs in this state, that they're bred, raised in a healthy environment, that the puppies that are born here in the state are healthy, and that they go to good and loving homes. So we look forward to Governor signing here today, and look forward to having the opportunity to implement this bill. Thank you.